So if you've been keeping up with the 6 days of THORGIWEEN, then you might have noticed that yesterday we were kind of pushing the envelope. Each of my recommendations were a bit, let's say, severe. But Halloween isn't always about pushing your nerves to their breaking point, it's about fun, it's about costumes, it's about candy. That's why today we're taking a step back from the spooky side of the holiday and focusing on another game that celebrates Halloween in a far more upbeat way. In a way that's meant to speak to the child inside all of us. And if you're watching my channel, then it's safe to say that you not only have a child, but they've run around the room wearing a cape before making a whooshing sound. That's why today's game comes from the brilliantly wacky minds over at Double Fine Studios, creators of such games as Psychonauts and Brutal Legend, and this was their attempt to make a game for all ages that celebrates what it was like to be a kid at Halloween. I'm talking, of course, about Costume Quest. This is a game where you go out one holiday night trick-or-treating, only for your twin to be kidnapped by goblins. You then have to go around the town getting other kids together to help you save your sibling. And how do you save them? By building bigger and better Halloween costumes, and of course, continuing to trick-or-treat so that you can get as much candy as possible. But don't worry, you're not just being selfish and simply satisfying your sweet tooth. No, you see, the candy in this game serves as currency, meaning that if you want to get better equipment and save your twin, then you have to trick-or-treat till you drop. This to me is an adorable mechanic. They took the fun of running from house to house to see what candy you could get and turned it into an actually valuable element of the gameplay, forcing all of us adults to go and relive those fond memories we had of Halloween when we were kids. And as I mentioned, you also have to collect items throughout the game that match a certain costume blueprint, and they're not special items, they're oftentimes just everyday objects you can find laying around the house, which is great because I can't be the only one who, when they were a kid, had to search around their home for whatever they could find just to ask, okay, what costume can I turn this into? As I said, this game is a celebration of trick-or-treating, and I love all the little things like this that show just how much thought went into it. But what do you do with these costumes once you get them? Why, transform into giant versions of the costumes and fight monsters, of course! Again, the biggest joy that comes from this game is how it just captures that feeling of being a kid at Halloween. And you remember what it was like when you were 5 or 8 or 10 or 13. Okay, I kept trick-or-treating longer than I should have, I'll admit that. But you remember what it was like when you put on that costume and suddenly you felt invincible. You felt like you were that thing you were dressing up as. You felt like you had just changed. This game takes that feeling and turns it into an actual power. That's the moment when I said, I see what you're doing here, and I love it. Plus, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, it was made by Double Fine, and this company is known for having some of the wittiest writing in the gaming industry. Now, I'll admit that there's no voiceover acting, which is a shame because Double Fine's games always have some of the best line readings and directing, and the jokes are toned down a bit since this game is aimed at younger audiences, but even with those two restrictions, it still matches the quality that you'd come to expect from this company. But if you've never played this game, it's got the original, DLC adventure, and a sequel, and if I had to sum each of these up in one word, it would be delightful. They are a delightful, uplifting romp through the more fun and lighthearted sides of the season. But that's it for me today, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and come back next time because we still have 2 more days of spooky, geeky recommendations to celebrate the season. And you can always follow me on Twitter and Tumblr at Professor Thorgy. But for now, I'm just going to say thanks for watching, everyone, and happy Halloween.